Welcome to Section 31, episode number 232. I'm Dan Hammond.
I am not Rogue Schindler.
Rogue's internet abandoned him this week, so I've got Charlie on, and what we're going to do is, in place of the normal talk about whatever we did locally in San Diego, Charlie and I are going to talk about Make It So, the last competition that is wrapped up for searching for a first edition designer. So, Charlie, tell me, start to finish, did this go as long as you were expecting it to?
Yeah. I mean, it always runs longer than we think it's going to. I think it was probably a month, less than a month longer than we wanted, but about on time. You know, we ended up taking an extra delay here and there, and adding an extra week here and there for to give the contestants some extra time for challenges, especially around the holidays. But by and large, it took about as long as we thought, and the winner should be working on the set that I thought they were going to be working on. So
that's good.
I don't think it was entirely unreasonably long.
So we've got James is the winner, correct?
Yes, James Monson-Broughton.
What did you think? As you were not, you didn't judge very much at all. You were just the host, right?
Yeah, I didn't do any judging this time around because we really wanted it to be anonymous judging, and I wanted to watch the whole proceedings.
Okay.
And so I didn't feel it would be fair for me to judge. And so to be fair, originally I was just going to be the host. Actually, I wasn't going to do any of this. I was going to write the challenges. That was going to be my role. And then Jordan was going to be the host, and you and Jordan were going to be judges. Maybe I was going to be the host. Jordan was going to be the other judge. I'm pretty sure. I was going to judge the final challenge, and in the end, it seemed wiser to have me observing the whole process and be able to answer questions for the contestants. And then what I did for the final was I gave them the opportunity to send me 20 cards about a week before the deadline, and I went through them, commented on their expansions as a whole, and sent the feedback back to them that they could use or not use to whatever degree they wanted. So.
Did you end up judging them based on the feedback and the response to the feedback?
What do you mean?
Well, you gave them feedback, right? Which would be, I guess, not really playtest results, but feedback.
Similar, sure.
Yeah. And they either made changes or they didn't. Did that factor into any of the scores?
No, because that would be like punishing them for not doing what I wanted them to do, and that wasn't what I was looking for to do here. It was more of the lines of, this is my suggestions. These are my suggestions. The things that I'm noticing and you as a designer know this. An outside pair of eyes is incredibly valuable.
Sure.
You've had me sit in on meetings for your teams that I'm not on just every now and then, just to be that outside pair of eyes. And they didn't change very. I mean, they listened to what I had to say, and then they changed some stuff. And I think what I gave them helped them cut some cards that we were on the fence about, and it was interesting to see how they would all work, and then to see how they grew and how they evolved and what their processes were. And all of the design, when they got to the team phase, they all pretty quickly locked onto the idea of doing Skype calls or Hangouts, and I would have liked to have been able to be part of some of those, just as like a fly on the wall. So if we ever do this again, maybe we'll have a, record your conversations.
That might be interesting,
rule, and then put those up as podcasts later so people can listen to these design meetings. But because I've actually had that idea before for an expansion where we record all of our design meetings from start to finish, and then as the expansion comes out, we put them up as a series of podcasts. We edit out whatever shouldn't be in there, but I thought that might be kind of an interesting thing for people to listen to. So.
What kind of opening up the doors and showing what's under the hood?
Yeah, just to hear the evolution of discussions and hear the progress. So, so let me ask you. You were judge this whole time, and that's a massive amount of work. So many thanks to you and to Alan and to our guest judges, David and Corbin, and I don't remember who else was in there. But um, what was it like from your perspective, seeing just the finished cards and then the comments afterwards? I know there were some entries where the contestants were a little frustrated with the judging, and
I, yeah, it's hard to. I mean, I didn't feel like I felt like I was providing a lot of feedback, and I did not get feedback on my feedback very much at all. I know no one wants to complain about the judges because they're going to be they're going to be judging the cards the next time. But I kind of you gave us some guidance at the beginning for what scores could be, and kind of a more of a guideline than instructions. And Alan and I kind of went from there, and I think it was difficult to try to. Well, I'll tell you, there was a lot of times where I looked at a card and I thought, I'm obviously missing something here, but I have just no idea what it is. So there were, I felt like a lot of times if I gave a score, I'd go back and look to, after I would score everything, I'd go back and look to the boards and see what other people were talking about. Just because I had been missing something. I think I did go back and change one thing back pretty early on, just something blindingly obvious. And I know Malaway's, Chris had posted something that I said something ridiculous, and he came back and said, "Actually, you're wrong." So I just changed my answer there. But it was difficult, more difficult as time went on, and the cards got more and more numerous. But I don't think it was as much work as the contestants put in, that's for sure. I mean, it was a couple of late nights the day before, and I keep seeing these notes from Charlie. It says, "Yeah, I need the results by Saturday. Thursday would be nice." And Friday night I'm up late trying to scribble things down. I don't think I got you any results early once.
But. Nope, not once. Nobody ever did, but it's okay. I was planned accordingly. So let me. I mean, here's another question. You have been an actual designer, and one of the bigger criticisms of Make It So was that it's not an accurate representation of design, how design works. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how to do something like this with this many people and keep an accurate representation of design.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on how the challenge is structured and the rapidity and the pressure of the challenges versus real design work, and do you feel like we were actually teaching the contestants anything?
Well, I'll tell you, the design articles that you wrote were pretty informative. I felt that having a week or week plus to get a card or two done is sometimes easier than what you see on the design team, because when the playtest results come back, it's not. Sometimes you get a note that says, "Hey, we need something for this," or one of the designers says, "We need a new mission," and you've got 3 days to come up with a bunch of ideas and cull them and figure out one that isn't horrible to send off to the playtesters. Now, it doesn't have to be as polished as we wanted some of the Make It So cards to be, but that's what happens week to week. At the beginning of a set's work on a set, we talk, the designers talk. The lead kind of sets out the groundwork for what the basic idea for the set's going to be, and says, "Okay, you go over here. You start working on these couple cards and these ideas. You work on these ideas, and then we've got this other area where you just throw up anything you want." And but from week to week, there's only a limited amount of time to throw in a few things. Now, granted, like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, because you get playtesters that come back and tell you, "Well, this is wrong," and you spelled Riker's name wrong here, and um, and then you get another chance the next week to kind of polish it a little bit. But the later you go in the set's design, the less time you have to make it right the second time, and you got to make it right the first time.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons on the sets that I work on, I've started. We did a couple things. We started going. Version A is 10 to 20% bigger than where we want it to be.
Yeah.
And B, we started making. What we did for 2E is we made a bunch of non-uniques, like one for each faction and one for each affiliation and sub-affiliation. We tested them and made sure they were, safe and they didn't do anything screwy. And those became our whole fillers. So, for example, the other day I was working on Martha, and we needed a card, and I was like, okay, I'll go find one of these whole fillers and drop it in, so we don't have to write anything.
Yeah.
And 1E, you always have the advantage of being fairly safe at just making a guy and throwing 4 skill dots on him and calling it good.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of challenges in an actual design team that aren't represented and make it so. And I don't want to speak for Keith and Mark Morris, our previous Make It So winners, but I feel like they both told me that Make It So was like 100 times more difficult and more pressure than an actual design team, which it kind of sucks, but in a way, if you can sort of perform well as a designer under that kind of pressure, it should speak well for your ability to perform well under a very different kind of pressure, which is actual design.
And really, you're attempting to focus your creativity in a very short period of time, and that's half the work right there. Do a little research here and there, go watch an episode. That was one of the things in that last set. I actually had to go back and watch the Dove, something Dave, what was it?
Day of the Dove.
Day of the Dove, yeah. I've seen a lot of TOS. A lot of it's been a while, but I don't think I've ever actually seen that episode. I I remember that card coming out on Pawn Against Pawn, or was that what it was?
Yeah.
Like, wow, that looks familiar, but I have no idea. And it was an entertaining episode. They just started laughing at the thing at the very end. That was great.
So what did you? We posted your feedback and your comments and everything are up. The winning set was the TOS set. If we were going to do a TOS set as 1E designers,
Mm-hmm.
did you see anything that sort of synced up between your mental expectations and the set that was delivered by James and his team?
Well, I'll say the kind of the Warp Core card that he made fits with the philosophy that we've had. Give a free play, limit to what you're playing, and use the hooks to add more benefits. It certainly would work. I mean, I wouldn't have any if that were the cornerstone of the TOS set. When we get to that, I don't think I would raise too many objections. Like I said, I'm not as up on my TOS. I would like to see if there's enough, to get Romulans in there too. I liked the Klingons. I think it was again a good foundation, but just not. I didn't feel like it was a big enough set to really bring that to the front like it should be. It wasn't a proper way of reintroducing them.
And that's one of the problems I think the other set had. And I don't have the scores in front of me, but I think they scored almost exactly the same from the public. But I think one of the problems that the Enterprise set had, the infiltrators and bad guys, was that there were some really good splashy boundary pushing cards in there.
Yeah.
But there were some. It was all over the place. It was trying to do a lot of different things, and one of the truisms I have discovered doing this is the more you try to do, either on a card or in an expansion, generally the worse off you are.
Sure.
And then a lot of times this means you have to make some hard decisions at the end of the day about, we have this really awesome time, location, and cool mechanic in Emissary that didn't make it. But it was just it was another thing in an expansion that was already fighting for space, and I think that the guys who won, James and his team, made a good decision not putting Romulans in there, because they wouldn't have been able to do justice to the Romulans in that small number of cards. That you could argue they didn't really do enough justice to the Klingons and the Feds. I think they did good. I think they did an acceptable job. I think they did good stuff, but
yeah,
it's tough.
I have to agree with your assessment of the flashy, weird stuff in the Infiltrator set. I think that was a lot of. There were more cards in that set that made me interested, in pursuing, what that kind of set would entail. They were a little flashier,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more edgy, a little more scarier, really. I mean, seriously, you'd have to. Whereas that TOS engine could probably go out to testers, and that could be the thing right now. A lot of that Infiltrator stuff.
The thing that interested me really, and I noticed this when I first saw their first drafts, is that the set that won, the TOS set, was closest to like a version J.
Sure.
And then the other one was closer to like a version A, where it's like, we've got these wild, crazy ideas that need a lot of refinement, so we're just going to throw them out there and see what happens. And the other expansion was much more. I didn't dig too deeply into the history of how their set went, but it was like, I think they pretty much shot for that finished product level and stayed at it. So it's interesting to see, this is the early design set, and this is the polished design set, and the public was pretty evenly split on what they liked and what they didn't like.
Yeah, you were talking about the scores. It was 102.1 to 102.4.
Yeah, it's like almost exactly the same. So.
Yeah, and Alan liked the Infiltrators. Well, that's odd, because I thought I had rated overall the Infiltrators a little bit higher. I guess my average scores for the cards on the TOS set probably pushed that average up a little high.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty pleased with how it ended up, and the talent that we pulled out of it. You said James has got something he's going to be slotted into already?
Yeah, I don't want to say on the podcast until I've had the chance to talk to him, but to make sure it's something he'd be interested in working in. I don't want to stick him on a project he's got no interest in. But yeah, it's something that we should be starting up soon, so the timing worked out really well on that one. And I got to say, there were a lot more people who could have come out of Make It So and jump into design teams in the future. So I think we identified some really talented people in our community with this competition. And even though only one person gets the automatic spot, I'd like to think that there will be some more opportunities in the future. So.
Good. Well, that's good to see. I mean, I know we've been looking for talent, right?
Yes. Always looking for talent.
All right. Well, is there anything else we could talk about in this Make It So thing? When's the second edition when starting up?
So I don't know. I have no idea. I was convinced to do Make It So again. This was not something that I sought out to do, and the fact that the person who convinced me to do it subsequently stepped down kind of sucked, but it is what it is. This is a massive amount of work. It's a massive amount of work for the contestants, and I don't want to devalue the time and energy they put into it, but it's a massive amount of work for the judges. It's a lot of work for the public. Every time we do Make It So, it starts off with like 30 to 40 votes per challenge and ends at like 20. And it's a lot of work to write the challenges and write the articles. I I honestly don't know if we're going to do this again. If we do, we'll be sure to let everybody know. But I wouldn't. I don't have a time frame in mind for when we would do this again. It's just so much work.
If we did a smaller scale version, right? I mean, if we seriously planned ahead and just said let's just shoot for like 8 people, and no, that's too many. Yeah, 6. We got 6 people. We got no teams. We're just gonna do like 4 rounds and see what we can come up with. And I was gonna run this for triples. Would you help me out?
Sure, I'd help.
I mean, what we'd have to do is the two of us would have to sit down, and I'd have to write up all the articles that you did. I have to do that beforehand. We wouldn't be able to start until all those articles were written.
Yeah.
And because we didn't put out a set this April, not for, not wanting to put out a set. We just didn't have, enough stuff put together. So I think I mentioned it early on that it would be fun, but there's a lot of groundwork that I would want to have done before we started, so that we wouldn't be working as much during the actual thing. So
yeah, I think that was my plan this time, and then things kind of got messed up with the staffing and all that.
Yeah.
And I think some of the challenges that were the worst challenges, the challenges that the people liked the least, were the ones that I changed the last minute, because I didn't trust my instincts or this one or anything. But I think if we were going to do a Make It So again for whatever game, we'd want to do what you said, have all the articles written up front, all the challenges written up front, all the articles written up front. So it was literally just a man. I'd want to work with Chris to have a automated voting judging system. So because one of the most time intensive parts was doing all the math to calculate the scores every week. And if we had that automated where the people just voted and the judges could go in and vote, and you could just hit a button and it would spit out, here are the scores and here are the results automatically, I think that would go a long way to making it likely to bring this back. But it's going to really boil down to who's willing to help me do it if we were to do this again. So
yeah, all right. Well, that sounds like a good answer. And since you're local, we could sit down and really plan everything all out. I think it's a great idea, but it's probably going to be something that, like I said, there's going to be more planning than anything else we've ever done around here. So there you go.
And the other thing to consider is we want to have an opportunity for the person to do, right now for 2E, we're pretty good on designers. We don't really need a lot of new designers. We do probably for 1E, but you don't want to bring too many new people in at once, because that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But so if we're fully staffed on all our games, we don't want to run a Make It So, because then it's like, yeah, welcome to the team. We don't really have anything for you to do. So.
There's no coffee runs or donut runs that we can send people on locally.
There's no actual intern jobs to give you. It's just you can sit around and read these forum posts. So.
All right. Very good. Hey, did you ever get around to posting that tournament for this weekend?
I did. We're playing 2E on Saturday at 3 p.m. local at Arby's. We have 4, maybe 5 if you join us. I believe Rogue is out because he will be in Hawaii. I believe Matt is out because it is a Magic thing. So it should be 4, Johnny, TV, myself, and JD, and then possibly a Dan cameo.
Yep, see what I can do. If nothing else, I might just pop by with a bunch of cards to put together and work on those while you guys play. That's always fun.
If you do come down, bring a kit, because I don't have a 2E kit. I have a 1E kit.
Very good. All right. I think that probably wraps it up, unless there's anything else you want to talk about.
No, I just wanted to say, I really appreciate that you guys are still doing this podcast. It's been a long time. 5 years that you've been doing this, a just crazy amount of work and I'm glad that you guys are still having fun doing it, and I know life interferes from time to time, and it's really great to see so many people in the community doing podcasts and
Yeah,
things.
there's certainly a lot of them out there, and I'm enjoying listening to the Road to Worlds podcast. That's been good. Or the regional rundown. The discard pile is always entertaining. What I think we're missing is we haven't had a guest. I mean, this is kind of like a stepping in. And we had JD on last week. We hadn't have had a string of guests like we used to, um, and that's really what we need to do when we don't have anything going on locally. I think so.
Yeah.
Um, we need to get back into that, and I'm also a few weeks behind posting them. So, what are you gonna do?
But it's just nice that we have so much community involvement, and I greatly appreciate it. And I hear you bought your Gen Con ticket, your plane ticket.
I did. I found one for less than $300. Awesome. I'll be flying in Wednesday morning.
Mine will be. I need to be purchasing mine shortly. I'll probably wait till paycheck number 2 before I purchase my Gen Con ticket, but I will be purchasing it shortly. And I'm getting there Tuesday. I'm spending all day Tuesday setting everything up, so that Wednesday, when the lines open, I can go over, pick up all the badges, get everybody else checked into the hotel, and then just be done, except for running the actual events. So.
Are you getting any assistance running the events? I mean, I'll be running the triples, right?
Yes, you'll be running the triples. I have Chris and Andrea Lobin helping out.
Excellent.
I do have openings for more volunteers. I need to put an article together on that. But if you are interested in helping run tournaments and possibly wanting a free Gen Con badge, send me a private message on the forums. And if you're willing to run a couple events, we can get you some help. Even if you're not willing to run events, but you want to help, if you want to help register or do gopher running or just man this, because we have a headquarters this year. We're going all fancy. We have a headquarters table with we're going to have a computer and a printer so we can print pairings and do all sorts of fancy stuff. So we'll need somebody at that table from when we open to when we shut down every day. So if you're interested in just sitting at the table for a couple hours and helping run the match area, that would be awesome. So anybody's interested in being a TD, taking pictures, tweeting, sitting at the table, doing demos. We have 2 demo sessions we need demo team for. So we need lots of help. So volunteer. And we had a couple room block cancellations.
Oh.
So
we were pretty full, weren't we?
We were 100% full, and now we lost like 2 rooms, which is still pretty good. But if you want a room or a spot in a room, please let us know, because we can do that. So.
Have all, I'm not a room captain, so I haven't seen the notes go by. Have the request for payment and things like that gone out yet?
Mm-hmm. Because Rogue is the room captain this year for you.
Okay.
All the information went out last week or the week before, and payment is due at the end of June, so there's time. So it's about, I want to say it's $1,100 for 4 nights for a room, and it sounds expensive, but the hotel is really nice and it's really close. Like, it's not the closest hotel, but you don't have to go outside. You can get from the hotel to the convention. I think last year from elevator to Trek area was like 7-minute walk.
Yeah. No, it's right. It's great. It's nice if you forget one of your 2 decks and you want to play in a second tournament. It's not that far to run back and go grab something, or if you just need to crash between rounds, it's right there. It's you go drop off your bag before you go wandering the con, or before you're hit the streets for dinner.
Yeah, if you're a fan of adult beverages, there's a nice bar. There's 2 nice restaurants. There's a Starbucks and a coffee shop right in the hotel. Lots of local food nearby. I mean, it's Gen Con, but it's a really nice hotel, and they've been really good to us. So, I mean, there are cheaper options, but you will not find a cheaper option as close as we are. And you get to stay in a block with like 40 other Trek people, which is pretty cool. So.
All right, great. I did see something go by my desk today for proofing. That was fun.
Yes. There was a Johnny Haliva special graphic on the front page today. I
Yeah,
don't know if you saw it.
I did. I saw the post. Beard is weird.
The beard is weird, but there's a little black, white text on a black background. It says, "Out there in the demilitarized zone, all the problems haven't been solved yet. Out there are no saints, just people. Angry, scared, determined people who are going to do whatever it takes to survive, whether it meets with Federation approval or not." And then June 2014. So June is not far.
No, that is like 2 weeks away. So let's start getting some spoilers on the site.
Pretty soon.
All right, very good. All right, then I will officially wrap this up. Thank you for joining me, Charlie. Rogue should be back next week. Is he going to be back next
Likely.
week?
No, because he'll be in Hawaii, so
All right. Well, maybe Charlie will be back next week for number 233. But for Charlie, I will thank our friends at Warp 11 for the theme music that we play, and that's it. I'm Sir Dan.
I am not Sir Rogue.
No, that's the chairman, and I will tell you to expand your power in the universe, and we will draw to end.